Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Everyone, hey, welcome into the program. Today on the show, we have the one, the only, Miss Sandy Berger. She is Computer America's consumer electronics correspondent. Make sure I get that right. And yeah, she's a longtime contributing member of the show here. Love to have her on. And of course, she has also kind of taken it upon herself to really be at, when they were first coming around, digital assistants were all her thing. And as they have developed, and let's face it, I would actually be very curious to see what the actual number of homes with a digital assistant in them, and I mean like a dedicated assistant, not like Siri or something like that, but a dedicated assistant, she's been keeping up to date. And, I'm sure that this hour we're going to talk about, hey, some of the features and capabilities and what's new and what's different with these devices that, so many people are using, myself included. I have, to turn the lights on in my office, I have definitely switched completely over. No more flipping a switch. No, that's too old school. Now I have to talk and be misunderstood 3 times just to, have the lights turn on. So, with that being said, everyone, welcome into Computer America. Before we get started, computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything, past shows, future shows, all the shows. I know that we're a few shows behind, but we'll get caught up on that soon. And everyone, hey, it'll be right there, including today's show, where you can find links to any products that we talk about, any services we discuss, anything about today's show. If you're driving, if you're busy, if your hands are tied, it's okay. We hope that you escape, first of all, and second of all, hey, we'll have everything in the show notes, so you just have to remember computeramerica.com. Now, all that being said, I'm trying to think anything else. I should also mention that COVID. I got the COVID vaccine. Not dead yet, so hopefully I have another 60, 70 years left in me. And yeah, I think the vaccine should definitely help with that. So everyone, I hope that you're out there, you're being safe, you're being cautious, you're being distant, and hey, you're ready for the show. So everyone, welcome onto the program once again. As I said before, Sandy Berger, she's been with us for a long time, and hey, we definitely enjoy her segments here with us. And Sandy, welcome back onto Computer America. How you doing?
I'm doing great, and I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad that you're here too. And been a little while, so of course need to ask, how you been? Everything holding up okay?
Yeah, it is. We had a lot of things canceled because of COVID, and a lot of problems. But like everybody else, we got through it. At least got to this point, which we hope is close to the end of being through it.
Yeah, just going to take everyone kind of pulling together and, just sticking with it for a couple more months, and then life can return back to normal, which, it's hard to imagine, things being, completely back to normal. I imagine that, grocery delivery services, food delivery services, and things like that, I'm sure that, those aren't going to go back to pre-pandemic levels. I think that people, and I don't know about you, Sandy, but I think people have gotten a taste for, kind of convenience. And, I know it was done out of safety and caution, but I also think a lot of convenience was brought to people through this experience.
No doubt about that. And I think older people especially are thankful for it. You could actually live in a more rural area and not have to drive right now, actually, because of the food delivery system. So, things are in many ways looking up. I went to a restaurant the other day, which here in North Carolina, they've opened for like 75%.
Right.
And, sadly, sat down and said, boy, I feel normal, which was kind of fun.
Yeah, no.
Hope we have more feelings like that.
Getting back normal, and I have to say that according to like everything that I'm seeing, and just personal feelings as well, the airline industry was like, we're not going to get back to the volume of flights that we had for 5 or 6 years. And I know so many people that are excited to, travel and get back to,
Right.
I'm sure that they put off plans. They didn't cancel them, they just put them off for a year. So I'm hoping that everything kind of bounces back, especially things like conventions and whatnot, because those are always fun. So with all that being said, though, again, Sandy, we're happy that you're here. And I think to kick off our conversation, we're going to start with something that, people might take for granted because it's something that's it's not the sexiest part of technology. It's not the monitor, it's not the TV, it's not the gaming system. It's more something that to a home network, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it's a really big problem. But I think getting it to work and getting it to work well for a lot of homes, and especially, homes that aren't, 2-bedroom apartments and have a square footage of like 1,000 square feet. When homes start to spread out, sprawl, lots of walls, lots of different bedrooms, needing access on different parts of the property, it can be a problem. And, I know for sure because our house here is, 2 stories, and even getting Wi-Fi through like the floor, because, on one level we have Wi-Fi, on the other we didn't, it was a real issue. So you wanted to talk about, a part of the ecosystem that can be used to solve this. And of course it comes from Amazon as well. So eero, what do you know about eero and mesh networking in general?
Well, I've actually been using mesh networking since it first came out. Google was the first one that came out, if you recall, with OnHub. That was several years ago, and it worked well. But over the years, I added more devices, more TVs, more Alexa enabled stuff. So actually just more and more devices in my home. And what you were saying is the backbone of the computer in your house is the modem and the router. And so I knew it was time for a new router. And I went ahead and got an eero, which, as you mentioned, is made by Amazon.
Right.
But it's called a mesh network, just like my Google network it was. And the Google network, matter of fact, is out there still. NETGEAR and a bunch of other people make mesh networks. And what that is instead of just one router, you basically have a router and or other devices that are kind of like people would think of as extenders to extend the network to different areas of the house. That allows you to cover more areas of the house. And since I already had a mesh network, my house was being covered. What was the problem? When I kept having to reset the router 3-4 times a day.
Oof.
Kept losing the connection. And it turned out basically, after I looked at it, I had too many devices. At that time, I was up to 35 devices. Now I'm up to 40. So I had 40 devices that were all fighting for data and for communications over this mesh network.
So, and I just have to say that you are probably on the farther end of a typical home, as in you have more devices than a typical home. But at the same time, hitting 30 devices, especially as you start adding light bulbs, fitness, kind of fitness bands and phones and things like that. 30 is not that hard to hit, though, in your opinion.
Exactly. And some of those are very big items in the amount of data that they consume. For instance, if you have a 4K TV, that uses a lot more data that conflicts on the network, so it causes congestion is what it is.
Gotcha.
Now, the solution was not just a mesh network. It was a mesh network that was doing Wi-Fi 6. And I don't know if you have anything in your home or office there that is on Wi-Fi 6 yet, but it's fabulous.
Because we are friends with NETGEAR, we've been using the mesh network in most parts of the house with their Orbi system, which, so I can kind of speak intelligently about the Orbi system, in comparison. Mm-hmm. But I also have the Nighthawk 10X router, which, I'm glad that they sent it to me. You can find the review on our site, but essentially it was, it's cool, it's future-proof, and it costs like $600. And I don't think, the majority of people are not going to pay $600 for routers. Although I will say, people seem more willing to spend more for routers because it improves their connectivity and improves their overall, just internet experience. So these things are costing more than the traditional, $20, $30 modem and $60 router. And I know that you've probably run into that as well. They're starting to cost hundreds, but there's a reason for that. Anyways, the router is Wi-Fi 6 enabled, and even has like this weird, not 2.4 or 5. There's like one above that where I'm trying to think which gigahertz or which wavelength it's actually using. I'm not that big a fan, but Wi-Fi 6 and the 5G, pretty good. Long story short, I do have some stuff that works with it, and when you're in the same room as your broadcasting device, it works pretty well. That's my experience with Wi-Fi 6.
Well, Wi-Fi 6 in my home and other homes that I've put it into works phenomenally. And the thing is that it has increased bandwidth and much, much better traffic management. Right. So it winds up being faster, more efficient, and basically reduces all the congestion. So if you have 4K TVs or you have other or a lot of devices like I have, this allows the data to go back and forth very quickly. Now, I also, in my home, I have two different wings, as it were. So I have a main part of the house and one wing on one side, one on the other. And both of those have a lot of doorways and connections through them. Right. So that's another thing that was holding me back on a regular, not a mesh network. But with the mesh network, with Wi-Fi 6, it goes through all the walls and everything and just does beautifully.
Right. And for anyone out there who maybe has tried other networking things in the past, where I recall, this has been a number of years ago, but we tried the repeaters, extenders. I mean, the name really changed every so often. They weren't great. They were definitely not good. And I think that mesh networking is truly the best solution for needing to cover a wide area. So
it is. It's a great solution, and also easy to set up.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you.
You mentioned extenders. I remember having to move an extender here and there and everywhere to find the right spot.
Right.
These mesh networks are just much easier to use.
Yeah, the other solutions, there was also like data over power lines or something like that. Just a big headache, and supposedly all trying to solve the same problem. This will do it. I have experience with with the Orbi system. If you want to talk about setting up your eeros, and I can kind of say if NETGEAR does anything different, but if someone has a traditional kind of just single router, single modem, how does this differ? What did you do to swap it out?
Well, all the mesh networks work this way, and that is through your smartphone, which is absolutely wonderful, because when you were previously going to set up a Wi-Fi router, you had to go through all sorts of settings on your computer and get everything right, and you had words that maybe you weren't familiar with. If you're the average person, you definitely weren't familiar with all that. But this setup and the eero was pretty much like the Google Mesh. It's done on your phone. It shows you all the devices that are attached. And setup is so easy. You basically attach the main one. You'll have a main little device. It looks like a hockey puck or a little bit bigger. Right. And you connect that to your modem, and then you plug the other things in through the house, wherever you think you're going to need them. And it basically sets itself up. So there's very little that you have to do.
Yeah, and I can also speak to some Ring devices that we recently set up here around the house, and Amazon's doing a really good job of making things work right out of the box. And, be it their Ring, be it their eero, I'm sure that they've done a lot of work making sure it's just ready to go right out of it. So the way that you've explained it, though, NETGEAR was pretty much as simple. We swapped out our main router with the essentially base station. There's base stations and satellites, and you can plug, like you said, you really don't need to run any more cables. It's just plug the satellites in different parts of the home, so you get a better connection in those parts of the home, which I really like. Not having to string cables or plug them into walls definitely increases the flexibility for Wi-Fi.
Right. And these things have a better coverage, as I talked about. So the eeros cover 5,000 square feet, or I think there's one that covers more than that. But
there's the eero and sorry for cutting off, but there's the eero and the eero Pro. So yeah.
Right. The eero is between $200 and $300. Now, the confusing thing is there is an eero which is only Wi-Fi 5 instead of Wi-Fi 6. And my advice is future-proof yourself by getting the Wi-Fi 6 one, because it's all backwardly compatible. Wi-Fi 6 is also called 102.11ax.
Right.
So there was AC and all these different ones before that. This is compatible with all of that. And if you wind up in the future, even if you have no Wi-Fi 6 devices in your home, if you wind up in the future getting some, they're going to work better and faster with this router, with this Wi-Fi 6. And it's not that much more as far as price.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely more important to get it. And of course, a lot of these devices are going to have the software. And I think that the quality of the antennas, the number of antennas that you have, all that good stuff is important. But like you said about the software side, being able to handle the traffic and essentially designate, kind of what's high priority, low priority is going to give you, kind of that boost. So I feel like buying a new router, like even if it's, even if your devices, like your phone and your TV and all that kind of stuff, even if you don't upgrade those, you're going to see a performance increase because your router can more effectively handle everything with Wi-Fi 6.
Very well said. Exactly what happens. You notice that everything is connecting better, and you don't have to reset the router probably forever, but you would maybe do it once a month. That would be ideal. These routers, the eero or regular ones, go up to speeds up to 500 millibytes per second, which covers what I think is the average user. Right. Now, you mentioned that there's one called the eero Pro, and that one goes up to, I think, 1,000 gigabytes or to a gigabyte.
Right. Yeah, it's the eero Pro 6, the eero 6 extender. So, and also, I'm sure that they sell them in different packs, and there's
they do.
Yeah, and then of course you can buy as many satellites. I don't know what the maximum number of satellites. I think the NETGEAR one was like 7 or 8, if I think off the top of my head.
It's quite a few. I don't know either, because my home is about 3,000 square feet, and because I have 2 wings, I basically have the main device and the 2 extenders, or what you want to call them.
Right.
Yes. So I have the 3.
Yeah, it's most typical homes. Like again, it's going to depend on things like if you want better connection. Although, and I'm going to say one thing about my NETGEAR experience as well, but if you need to get through walls, that's where, kind of the 5 gigahertz bandwidth isn't that good. So having a broadcasting device, let's say in your living room, is probably more preferable than even going through a single wall. So, due to interference, you might want more for a smaller square footage, but yeah, I would say that a typical home wouldn't need much more than 2 additional satellites along with the base station. That would be
and the beauty of it is you buy one, you get 1 or 2 satellites, and if it's not enough, you can go back and buy another satellite.
Right.
So it's expandable. Say you moved into a bigger house. All you need to do is go back and buy one extra device, and you've got it made.
Right. Yeah. And by the way, looks like the eero Pro is also tri-band, so it can handle even more traffic than
Exactly.
than the regular eero 6.
band.
So that's also important to kind of mention. Tri-band is definitely good. I got to say though that the one thing that I actually do find really helpful from NETGEAR, and I don't know if all of Amazon products, it's not that complicated, so I'm sure that they would. Like I mentioned, I have the Nighthawk as well as the Orbi system, kind of upstairs, and if you set up your Nighthawk, and it works with other NETGEARs pretty simply, if you set it up as a bridge, not an access point and not a standalone router, but as a bridge, it will essentially do the exact same thing as a satellite. Broadcast the same Wi-Fi network, use the same passwords. You can see other devices on the shared Wi-Fi network. It took me a little while to understand how all that worked, but in some cases, you can even use existing routers as Wi-Fi extenders and satellites. So,
right. And you saying it took you a while, so it would take the average person a lot longer than a while to figure it out.
You know how hard, Sandy, do you know how hard it is to Google something when you have no internet access? It is incredibly hard to Google these things. I had to use a lot of cell phone data to set it up. But once and there was actually a much, Sandy, we went through a home renovation, like we're still going through it. Craig said, go ahead and cut that cable. That's just for phone. That's just for phone line. Mm-hmm. That cable was the thing that made the entire house's internet work. So I was doing all this troubleshooting. I stayed up for 12 hours troubleshooting it. And turns out we had a technician out here, and he's like, your cable got cut. I'm like, well, I learned a lot, but long story short, wireless is awesome, and I highly recommend it. So you're currently using the eero 6, not the Pro, right?
Correct.
All right. And with all those devices, one problem that can happen with, kind of what I was dealing with, multiple Wi-Fi networks. There aren't multiple Wi-Fi networks, right? It's just one that has a strong signal.
Right. And if you're the average user, that's the way you want to keep it.
Yeah. Oh, for
you
sure.
want to keep it to just one. Now, one thing we didn't talk about with this eero is it can be controlled by the Amazon Echo devices.
I did not know that.
I do not have mine. Although I have a house full of Amazon Echo devices, I prefer to keep my network without that access. So that's just a preference. I could
Security
do it if I want
or?
to, but I've got enough other devices that I don't need it.
Okay.
I guess is the bottom line. And why put one more thing on if you don't have to?
I'm wondering what access, or what commands would you need to have constant access to your routers for, like maybe reset the network, maybe, or I don't know what kind of commands would be kind of useful for that.
I do not have a list of those commands, so I don't know either exactly what it would be, how useful it would be. It is a Zigbee controller though, so basically you don't have to have another hub, so you can use it just as a hub if you want.
So
where it would connect to all your devices would connect to it.
Right. So here's a couple of commands that Amazon gives as an example. Ask eero to find my phone, find Tommy's phone. So I guess they can, kind of triangulate and locate people's phones using your eero. So that's pretty cool. You can tell, I guess it says tell eero it's dinner time. Turn off the LEDs. I don't know why you would have again, they're telling Alexa, or I should not say that because now she's listening. They're telling the Echo devices to tell the router to do things. I guess if it's not Alexa, if it's not Echo enabled, then maybe eero has access to, let's say, Wi-Fi light bulbs and things like that.
Right. It does have access to that. And again, it in a way, if you have nothing else Echo enabled in your house, right, it might be a great thing to have, or to have that ability.
That makes sense.
If you already have other things like I do, it seems to me to be a bit redundant. I don't need it.
Right. Yeah. So, and again, these seem like very, very capable routers. They're very small, unobtrusive. I got to say that the NETGEAR Orbi ones, they're not ugly, but they are big. They are big and bulky.
They're larger, much larger.
Yes, and these are much smaller. So, definitely like that. I don't think, because we're not using them in the same house, we can really compare, kind of coverage. But personally, I've been very happy with Orbi, so I'm sure you're happy with eero.
Right, I am. And one other thing that they have is you can purchase added security if you want to. So they have I think it's $3 a month that will get you, let's see, it'll protect you from certain threats, give you content warnings, ad blocking, that sort of thing on your entire network. And that's good. But then they have a $10 a month deal. Of course, it's all about adding services so they can keep making money. But this service is pretty good. They have 3 major programs that they give you with the security for $10 a month. Encrypt Me, 1Password, and Malwarebytes. Now, Malwarebytes I already use all the time, and I can affirm that that's an excellent program.
For sure.
Encrypt Me is one of the highest rated VPNs out there. The only one I don't know about, maybe you do, is 1Password.
Password managers.
It's a password manager, but I've never used that particular one.
1Password is pretty good. I use currently something different, but I have used it, and having it on your network, and especially using a family plan, very helpful, because I know that's like sometimes I would ask my mom, be like, check your bank account for this charge, see if it went through, and she'd be like, oh, I need to go to my computer, I don't have my password on my phone, so I need to go to where it's already saved. You would avoid things like that using 1Password. And again, it's I would not say 1Password is better or worse than any other password manager, but it is a good password manager.
Okay, well, if that's a good password manager, then that makes this whole program pretty good, because Encrypt Me alone is $10 a month.
Right.
Now, the only question I have is for how long? How long will they offer this? Will the price go up? Will it change? Will they be offering different things? Because I don't want to have to play around with things like that. I want to get used to it, and I think most people do too. Computers change enough when you're using them that you'd rather keep things copacetic, shall we say?
Yeah, and because Amazon doesn't outright own these different companies, I would guess that these are promotional rates and kind of tie-ins more so than forever features of this. So yeah, I mean, maybe they would grandfather existing customers in, and then maybe swap out 1Password for another password manager. But no, that's really cool, and definitely not a feature of other companies. But like you said, it's Amazon's way of adding services into devices that you buy, because again, Amazon's probably not making that much money from selling eero routers. They're going to make their money through this, through this service.
Right.
So.
And this happens to be additional programs that are valuable. I hate the services stuff where it's $9.99 a month, and then $9.99 more a month, and $9.99 more a month. So I don't like to get involved in anything like that unless I have to. But this is a very good deal that I wouldn't mind, going for.
I do like their security app where they have an example here on the screen, how many times they've scanned it, how many ads they've blocked, how many things they've filtered out, how many threats they've blocked. It seems very secure, and like I said, user friendly, because I think people who are going to dip their toes in, if they jump into eero, networking, like I said, can be very complicated. And I'm sure that if you wanted to get into the complicated stuff, eero would let you, but
you don't have to.
Yeah, and thank goodness for that. That's definitely a good thing. So, security, mesh routing. Again, the price of these things seem about on par with what NETGEAR is, kind of doing. 3-pack for about $600. Again, that's the Pro. Other ones can be, a little bit cheaper. I mean, it's not really mesh networking if it's just one, but yeah, you can buy a singular router if you just want to upgrade your router for like $130. It's
and Amazon does have sales. If you watch for Amazon Day or whatever,
right.
Other than that, it's almost $300 for the one that I like, which is the one with the 6 Wi-Fi.
Yep.
So that particular, it's not bad because you're not going to have to buy an extender or anything additional. It's pretty much all there if you have a normal size house and you have 3 units.
Yep, and let's see. So the beacon as well, which is another little product. Looks like this is one that you traditionally just plug into the wall. So
right.
It would take up an outlet and then it would broadcast from there. So, yeah, the beacon. That's something different as well. But overall, I mean, mesh networking is something that I think everyone should probably have at this point, especially for people who, it's like, oh, I don't watch Netflix in my bedroom because I don't have a good internet there and it keeps buffering. It's really simple to solve, and I think everyone should probably be on it or, transition to it sometime soon. Not something your standard cable provider or internet provider will probably provide to you. Do you know if any of these, by the way, I'm just curious, if these have modems built into them, or do you still have to, I guess, kind of either get your own or use your internet?
I think you have to. I think all of these, and most networks, mesh networks, you have to have your own modem, or you have to rent the modem from your internet provider, whatever.
Right.
So right now I have Spectrum, and they used to charge you it's like $8 or $9 a month for a modem, but now they include it in the price. Of course, the price has gone up and keeps going up, but at least you don't have to buy a modem. So
right, and honestly, that's something that I've been advocating for a little while now. Ever since I had problems with my internet provider, again, I won't say who, but they upgraded our service to 300-400 megabits per second, and the modem that they provided and they would not upgrade could not handle those speeds. So our entire network was at a crawl. And as soon as we bought our own $60 modem, it was better, it was faster, and and we got to return the units. So buy your own modem. They're not that expensive. And, waiting for a big multi-billion-dollar company to get around to replacing every modem in people's homes, that's going to take a while. So just buy your own and bite the bullet. It's a much better experience as well, personally. So, yeah, eero. Trying to think if there's anything else that we didn't really cover with eero, but Wi-Fi 6, I mean, again, that's something that if your device doesn't use it currently, it will probably be using it. And again, the big innovation there is, hey, it's just traffic's going to flow better, easier, faster, better streaming. Everything should just keep working. So, yep, I think that was a very good discussion. I enjoyed that you brought that up. It's the last time we talked about that, Sandy, was when we had a guest on that was talking about spectrum splitting, which he's hoping to, kind of take to these larger tech companies. And he wants to, and his technology that his company produces actually found a way to split up each of those different, bandwidths into smaller segments themselves, so that you can get even more traffic in each of the bandwidths. So, hey, maybe I'll see his technology in homes soon. So with that being said, I wanted to transition from eero, mesh networking, yada yada, to another one of Amazon's that you've brought to our attention. And let's talk about Amazon Day 1 editions, which have sound like other accelerator programs. I've seen, Steam Greenlight is the one that kind of jumps to mind, but getting good ideas, funding, and, kind of get them explored faster instead of, red tape and minutia. That's always been a problem for software because it's so easy to make software. You found this. I don't know how you found Day 1 editions, but yeah, it seems like Amazon is doing kind of the Google thing. They want to, they want people to innovate. They want them to think of new ideas, and then they want to, kind of chase down the good ones. Day 1 edition seems to help with that. So how did you hear about this, and what is it? Oh, Sandy, you there? I hope she comes back here shortly. Looks like she's still there, but might have had to step. Oh,
am I here now?
Yeah, you're perfect.
Okay. All right.
There we go.
All right. So now we're going to talk about day one editions.
Yes.
It's Amazon who's actually creating the devices, and then they're throwing them out there for you to try if you want to, or if you like the idea of it. So they started this in March, and I heard a little bit about it, but I think the first one they had was called a smart cuckoo clock. And
I remember that. Yeah.
And the clocks that they have are good, but I don't think that everybody's going to go after a clock. So I didn't pay too much attention to that. The second one they came out with was smart scale, nutrition scale.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's a lot of people who do weigh their food, but since I'm not one of them, I thought that was not that hot of an idea. And both of those ideas failed. Okay. But the idea that they just came out with a couple days ago is called Smart Sticky Note Printer. And what it is, if you have a sticky note, it's a square, 2.5 inches square little thing. Well, that's what this device is, but it's compatible with your Echo device. So basically, say you have a shopping list and you keep that in Lexi. I have to say Lexi or my, device will go off. So if you keep your shopping list in Lexi, yes, you can print it now to a printer, but it's hard to set up and it's kind of complicated. But this little device, it would seem to me that you can just go ahead and print it. It might even be useful in printing labels, although I'm not too sure about that. It depends how it works out. The first two devices, the Cuckoo clock and the nutrition scale, both got about 60% of people wanting it. So in other words, they have set an expectation level for each device. Say they think that they have to have 10,000 people order this. Mm-hmm. So if you like the idea, you pre-order it, and then if it meets their expectations of pre-orders, they're going to develop it. If it doesn't, you haven't lost anything, because guess what? You don't have to pay for it.
Right.
So the Smart Sticky Note Printer sells for $115. And it got enough pre-orders that they're going to make it in just 3 days. So the other two devices took 30 days, and they didn't even, in 30 days, did not make the cut. But this one did, and I can see why, because I think it's a great idea.
And obviously everything being so digital, having something physical for, reminders or notes, and obviously anything that you would use a sticky note for makes perfect sense. I mean, you don't have digital labels on everything yet. So very, very cool. And again, like you said, pre-order goal met on day 3 of 30. This definitely seems not a ripoff, obviously, but almost like a Kickstarter-esque kind of strategy. Yeah,
exactly what it is. And I think I'm glad to see that they came up with something that everybody liked. I certainly can see a lot of use for it, in particular because I keep all my shopping lists in there. And sometimes my husband will say to me, where's the grocery store shopping list? And but it's in your phone. Well, he doesn't want to go through fumbling with his phone in the grocery store. So if I had this, I could just print it out very easily, which would be very useful.
Yeah, I have tried once or twice to use the Echo devices to make a shopping list, and it works pretty well. Kind of cumbersome to have to activate the device and then add things to your list. But then the real problem was getting everyone in the family on the same boat and, getting them all adding items to the same list. And then, of course, taking that list to the store, which was almost impossible. So something like the sticky note thing would have solved an issue like that, just like your husband. So.
Right.
I'm wondering how many products they're going to, try to work through here, because like you said, there have so far been 3, different ones here. The
3,
Cuckoo clock.
and I believe the first one was in March sometime, beginning of March. So maybe 1 a month.
Yeah, maybe. I'm curious if, and obviously this is done in-house. These are all products that will be made by Amazon. They're not a lot, Kickstarter is anyone can make a profile, make a product, and throw it up on Kickstarter. This is so far Amazon focused only, or I guess, only made by Amazon.
And if you like the idea of it, you can pre-order it. And if they don't make it, obviously they don't charge you for it.
Right.
So you haven't lost anything there. If they do make it and you decide you don't want it, you can cancel the order. So as far as a consumer goes, it's kind of like being able to vote for something.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like this idea? Okay, I'll vote for it. Yes, it's a little scarier when you have to say, I'm going to pre-order it, promise you some money at some point.
Right.
But since you can cancel it, if you think of it in that way, it's really good.
Yep, it's one of those that'd be nice to have, and I'd really like to see it. But obviously, if it doesn't meet its goal, no harm, no foul. So it's the difference between there's Kickstarter and then there's GoFundMe. Obviously, if a GoFundMe does not reach its goal, the money still is taken out of your account, and
Right.
That's just what it is. But this is the Kickstarter route, which is if you don't reach your goal, then it's okay. I could see them definitely expanding this. They mentioned the Build It blog here to do this whole kind of thing. I'm curious if they would take kind of recommendations, or if they would take user submitted products. I don't know. It'd be very cool, because again, it kind of removes the R&D from these companies, from Amazon, being like, what should we make? Hey, the people will tell you what they'll buy. So that's half the battle.
Right. I didn't see any place in there where you could send them an idea.
No, not yet.
But not yet. And maybe they just don't want to handle all those ideas.
Yeah. No, it's.
I don't know.
Yeah. I did not hear about this. I'm glad that you brought it to our attention. And it's a pretty cool idea.
It's a good one to watch to see what happens next.
For sure.
So I was one of those that pre-ordered this smart sticky note printer on day 1 or day 2, just because I wanted to make sure they made it.
Did you think it was going to be made? When you bought into it, did you think it was going to be made?
I did. I thought this was a great idea, where I thought the Cuckoo clock was kind of a dumb idea. They've got a Mickey Mouse clock. What do they need a Cuckoo clock? And Cuckoo clocks should be German made, ornate things, So I thought
Antiques.
The Cuckoo clock idea was not very good.
Right.
Smart nutrition scale was a decent idea. To me, it was a question of how many people were actually going to use it. And evidently it turned out that not that many people were going to use it.
Right.
Although 60% is not bad.
Yeah, while I'm not strictly weighing things, I probably should be, but dieting and being able to know that kind of thing, nutrition is complicated. That's what I've learned after all these fitness apps and things like that. Nutrition is complicated, and overly so. So I don't know. I kind of hope that was the thing, but the whole thing came and went. It looks like you can subscribe to emails and updates and things like that when they bring out new ones. So. Yeah, I guess if anyone out there is interested in that kind of thing, then for sure. So with Day 1 editions behind us, we have a couple other topics to talk about. I wanted to talk about one little grievance, though, that I've had for about a month and a half. I just haven't brought it up on any show. And, since I have a minute here, I think I will. Nanoleaf. Have you ever, and Sandy, you've been to CES. They always have a booth there. Nanoleaf. They make the smart lights. They annoyed me when I could not return my device for a new one because they made me jump through so many hoops, including take a video. Like this little gadget here, this is the one that detects noise and is kind of sound activated. So like if you like clap your hands, your lights will all flash brightly for a second. when I have it plugged in, it makes a high pitch electrical whine, and they said it's due to improper shielding, faulty manufacturing. This whole thing is only about 6 months old, and I wanted to say, hey, I want to send this in and get a new one, and they were like, we need you to fill out these 3 forms and film a video. And for all I know, my microphone might not have even picked it up. They wanted me to film a video of the device making the noise before they would send me a new one, and I'm like,
that's like they don't believe you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like I wanted to take this and keep it and get a second one for free. Like, I would have sent this one into them, but no, they were just they were being cumbersome, and they just didn't want to deal with it. So okay, got that off my chest.
I'm glad to hear you complain about them, because not that I'm glad you're complaining, but I
Products should have a longer lifespan than 6 months,
Yes, definitely. But I have always been interested in these light pipe type things. So the Nanoleaf, to explain to people that might not know what it is, it's a bunch of, are they triangles, the Nanoleafs?
Yeah, and I actually took down the lights that were in my studio. I had big old fluorescent ones, and actually replaced it completely. And if anyone is watching the screen, which I think I can do this, and this might be dog cam. We can do webcam and not dog cam. Anyways, obviously the
there you go.
The green screen, but
they're kind of like triangles.
Yeah.
That you put together and you put it on the wall, and it makes this display and changes colors and everything like that.
Right.
And I had seen this at CES, and I was not impressed with it. So when I went out to try another one, there's another company that makes those in squares.
Yep.
Do you happen to know that?
Well, Nanoleaf recently came out with squares as well, but I'm sure just smart light panels, and Nanoleaf will be one of the first ones. There's Life Smart Modular. There's Luminosia or something like that. Yeah, there's a number out there. Just light panels will get you a number.
Well, there's a number of them, and I tried one of them, and it was just terrible, not in what it did. I mean, the display that it made was beautiful, but you couldn't keep the things on the wall.
Yeah.
The way you had to handle the wires behind the device and glue it to the wall, more or less, with their sticky tape at the same time, just didn't work well. So I think
that sounds, and sorry to cut you off there, but that sounds exactly like Nanoleaf, where a fun fact, and this is just from strictly from conjecture, but so I bought the base unit, and I don't know if you know this, Sandy, but they used to make their own sticky tape. It was to save money. Nanoleaf made their own sticky tape with their own branding, all that kind of stuff. I put up like a lot of lights using that, because like the base station that they send you has 3M. They switched to 3M because their self-branded stuff was so bad, and the 3M stuff worked pretty well. But the expansion kits that they sent me, even like a year and a half after they switched to the 3M, they never went through their warehouse, opened up the old boxes with the knowingly defective tape, and swapped out the tape with the new 3M that they're now including in all their products. So I thought, if I mix and match, some 3M here, some of their existing stuff there, it'll stick, it'll be good enough. No, they fell on my head multiple times. I have some that absolutely broke because they fell off my ceiling. Anyways, I went to Amazon, spent like $30 buying sticky tape, and now they're all up there for good. But they knowingly sold a product with defective tape in it that, of course, broke a couple of the panels. So yeah, that's another.
On top of that, all of these devices that are made like this, obviously, if you're going to get tape that's good enough to stick it on the wall or stick it on the ceiling, you're going to have a problem when you want to take it down.
Right. Yeah.
So they haven't really thought through this whole venue, I think, to my abilities. And I love colored lights. I have Philips bulbs that are different colors around the whole house. I have a bunch of colored things. I actually love that. So I would like to find some company that's making those to my ability.
I think that Nanoleaf, when you get away from the like when they work very well and they're very intuitive. And I'm actually now that I've worked through all the mess, I'm actually a fan of kind of what they do. I'm not a fan of the customer service by any means, and I do think they're slightly overpriced for what others do. I found this one here from Lifx. Which made some smart light bulbs I've used in the past. They're actually very good, and hey, they're Amazon compatible as well. They make these accent bars, which
Actually,
might
I've
have been,
tried those. I forgot about those.
Yeah, they're they're cool. They're cool.
That was easier because you weren't trying to hide the wires all behind things that mesh together.
Right.
These just come together at the ends, so the wire can run right through.
Yep. So, anyways, that was a complete aside, and you even got me on another area, another pain point, I would say, of those lights. They're working on it, and for really, I would say that Nanoleaf is probably the leader in that field of kind of consumer friendly light panels. They still have a ways to go, but they're working on it. They're fixing. If they're listening to this, I mean, I love to talk to them about where they messed up. But other than that, so speaking of which, we can also talk real quick about Lexi. We haven't really had a strict update from her. But I also want to say one thing, a little piece of news, and I would love your reaction, Sandy. Just about 3 days ago, maybe. I know it was over the weekend, but they, fully announced it Monday, I believe. Microsoft purchased Nuance, and I would love your reaction because I'm sure, as you know, Microsoft isn't exactly the leader in voice recognition and voice software. And I thought, have you tried Nuance? What do you think about Microsoft buying them for $16 billion? What do you think about Microsoft getting into the smart speech, AI speech game?
Well, that was one area that they were really, really lacking, because I don't know very many people that use Cortana on their computers. Now, Cortana came out with what? They came out with Windows 10 or Windows 8? Yeah. Windows 10, okay. But Cortana really, although it was fairly good, wasn't that smart. I don't want to call her stupid, but it just wasn't that good. And then Apple came out with Siri. Actually, Apple came out with Siri first. But Siri was decent and caught on the phones, but never went that step further to get into the homes. Yes, they have Apple HomeKit and all that. But other than real Apple aficionados, there aren't too many Apple HomeKits out there, at least when you compare it to Google and Amazon Echo devices. So this seems to me a very logical buy, because Microsoft is trying to compete in that area.
Yeah, and really, I hope that they do. They also mentioned some integration with their meeting software and translation and dictation, things like that. But overall, I would say that this definitely does help their digital assistant if they decide to maybe relaunch or refresh Cortana to make her a bit more useful, because. Maybe that's it. Microsoft has never really sold a dedicated, kind of Cortana device, and maybe that would make people a little bit more interested. They try to bill it as any PC could be a Cortana device, but maybe selling a standalone product would make people use it more. Right.
And talk about voice assistants. Do you know Bixby? You know who Bixby is?
I unfortunately do. We purchased a Samsung fridge that uses it exclusively, and I'm glad that I think they said that they're discontinuing Bixby on like the Samsung fridge system and making it Amazon compatible. So I was happy to hear I no longer have to care about Bixby.
Well, 3 years ago, I think 3 years ago at CES, they had a standalone Bixby, which was just like the Amazon Echo or the Google Home device, and they gave a demonstration that was fabulous, saying that it was going to make you able to work with all three of these devices together. all through Bixby, and they made a lot of promises that never happened. I mean, I still have a pair of gloves that say Bixby on them.
Yeah.
Nice winter gloves. But anyway, Bixby never really came about. So this is Microsoft again has never really come about a standalone device.
Right.
And with this purchase, I'm not sure that they're going for a standalone device. It sounds like they're going to want to integrate this into all of their devices.
Right. And Bixby was really integrated with SmartThings, which was the ecosystem that Samsung had with its
That's right.
different things. Looks like let's see, you can download the the Amazon app onto like your smart fridge or something like that, and start using the Bixby stuff as an Amazon smart speaker. So I like that. From what I heard, Bixby worked better in South Korea because it could understand Koreans better. But as for English speakers, it wasn't as good as as Cortana, as Siri or Google or Amazon. So
especially
that was
if they had a southern drawl, huh?
Yeah, especially that one. So, and also one more piece of news I wanted your reaction on as well. Since you were last on, and this would have happened assuming that we kept our appointment, again, completely my fault, but if we kept our appointment last month, this would have happened like 2 days after. So this will be the first chance either way. Apple is discontinuing their $299 HomePod. They're only making the HomePod Mini, and they're dropping their support for the bigger HomePod. And I was wondering, you gave it high marks for great sound quality, but
Exactly.
I guess that wasn't enough to make it a viable product, I guess.
Well, what's happened there is the sound quality in the smaller devices has become so much better. So there was the Google Max, which had a great sound. The Apple Home device, the big one, which
HomePod,
sounded even a little bit better than Google Max. And those two were at the top of the sound quality assistants, the ones that sounded the best. For a while, they were at the top. And then Amazon has come out now with their, what do they call it? The speakers that you can hook up to your TV, and it's got high pitch, and it's got all sorts of things.
Right.
And that really, I think that hurt the other ones. And Apple wasn't doing that well with the home devices. I'm surprised though, because they tend to think that quality, is
quality
so
audio.
important.
Well, they're saying that
quality.
that's what made Apple in the first place was kind of quality of their speakers, and way back in the day.
Right.
So they've always had a soft spot for high fidelity music and things like that.
Right. And when Amazon came out with their high def music and Atmos, so their devices are Atmos capable. And if you get a TV that is Atmos capable and put the Amazon devices, Echo devices on, the sound is fantastic. It sounds better. I still have a Google Home Max, and Amazon sounds better. So I never did compare Amazon HomePod with Apple HomePod with Amazon stuff. So I think maybe the Amazon is just better.
Yeah, it's currently, probably, especially when it comes to the smart assistant, the digital assistant, no doubt about that. And hey, lots of new skills, lots of, I've fully integrated myself with Amazon. I've plugged into that company, and I've even installed some. Although I will say, this might be the last thing that I say, but when I set up the floodlight for kind of the security camera floodlight that they have for the Ring system, that is a sassy voice. Where she's like, instead of being like 1 moment updating or 1 moment, installing, firmware updates, she's like, 1 moment, Rome wasn't built in a day. Give me a moment. And I was like, I just turned you on. Like, you don't have to yell at me. I don't know. Very sassy, I will say.
They're getting personalities, and whether that's good or bad is something we'll have to decide in the near future.
Yeah, I'm hoping, and don't get me wrong, I would love if you could dial personalities in. That would be hilarious to me if you could have a wisecracking digital assistant. But yeah, maybe one day. Sandy, and I will say maybe next month we might push you back a couple of days or even the following week. The Google I/O event 2021 will be 2 days after you're supposed to be on. So maybe after I/O, we'll get you back on to have something different to talk about.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. So everyone, Sandy Berger, once again, Computer America correspondent, and hey, show notes, computeramerica.com. Sandy, thank you so much for joining us. I'm glad that you're doing well, and I look forward to talking to you next month.
Okay. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. And everyone, we'll be back. More Computer America tomorrow, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern. Have a great one. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.